Tennis players, close your eyes and begin to relax. You are playing tennis on a warm yet comfortable summer night. The wind is blowing 3 miles per hour to the southwest, if blowing at all. The sunset is set on a beautiful backdrop to the canvas of the trees swaying on the occasional breeze. The bugs are non-existent on this mid-September summer night, just 2 weeks after the kids go back to school and life starts to be a little bit normal after the global pandemic. And somewhere in the back of your brain and your soul, you feel right at home. You feel like these tennis courts were built for moments like these. And just take in the sound of the ball dwelling on your racket strings for a cleanly hit winner. The small squeaks of your shoes hitting the surface when changing the direction or split stepping. And maybe even the car zooming by 2 blocks away on a suburban street, surrounded by medium-sized family homes with a dog happily barking, playing with the neighborhood kids in the front yard. Then you hear this. And then you see these lines on the tennis court, and they aren't quick start lines. And then your nightmare becomes true. The township tears down your safe haven because a new sport has arrived. Pickleball. And it has arrived as a huge tropical storm, but it has a hurricane of followers and fanatics following right behind it. It's no secret that tennis is a very, very difficult sport to pick up. One could almost say it's almost an elitist sport. Equipment is expensive, coaching, both good and bad, is normally not cheap, and even court time is expensive, especially during the indoor season. Tennis, in my opinion, is almost a cult-like sport with social and economic barriers. Not to mention that tennis courts take up a large amount of space per the people that it can accommodate. Singles more than doubles, obviously. But you know what's not difficult? Hitting that like and subscribe button. Also hit that bell to be notified on what new tennis content gets published on the regular. But, in all honesty, as a tennis player of over 20 years, I have to admit pickleball doesn't necessarily have all of these negatives. In fact, you can say that all of these positives of pickleball is a middle finger to the negatives and the barriers to the sport of tennis. If you think that pickleball is just for geriatrics passing time before they get put 6 feet under, well, you're actually wrong. I absolutely hate the saying of pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the US without any actual statistics. So I did some research. According to this article on the US Pickleball website, average annual growth rates for all players from 2017 through 2020 was 10.5% for a total growth rate of 34% over those 4 inclusive years. On top of that, there was an increase of core and casual players under the age of 55 from years 2016 through 2020, which means that there is a significant growth amongst younger players. I will leave a link to this article down in the section below, and I highly suggest you take a look at this statistical breakdown and this article. With the number of casual pickleball players increasing, the statistics suggest that this sport is easy to pick up and socialize in. With the core pickleball players increasing even more rapidly, then I'm actually suggesting that this sport is difficult and entertaining to master in a competitive environment. So at the end of the day, why should tennis players care? Well, I would be shocked if any US tennis player has not encountered some sort of negative connotation towards the sport of pickleball or the players themselves. Taking tennis court times away, trying to kick off pickleball players off public tennis courts, or just cursing the pickleball lines when their opponent's shot skids right off of it. I have another outlook towards my original sentiments on a podcast I did over a year ago. I will leave a link to that in this corner if you haven't checked it out already. Tennis is literally the best crossover sport to pick up pickleball. From the hand-eye coordination, the footwork, the positioning, and even reading spins and angles. Don't get me wrong, there is some work to do when it comes to strategy, but tennis players do have all the tools to become a very, very competitive pickleball player. Still doubting me? Okay. How about this? My friend Zane is literally the number 2 ranked male singles pickleball player in the world as of the publishing of this video, and he played Division III college tennis at my alma mater. Now, he is traveling the world and making a full-time living off a sport he loves. So it's already been done before. So the real question is, what does it actually take for an amateur tennis player to be the best pickleball player in the world right now. The reason why I haven't been putting out too much content since the beginning of 2020 was because I actually started training for competitive pickleball tournaments. Not just the casual gym session events. I'm talking about pickleball events where people fly from all over the country to play in, where professional pickleball players actually play. From February 24th through the 26th, I am participating in an out-of-state pickleball tournament for both singles and doubles, where amateur and pro pickleball players will be competing. And yes, I will be documenting all of it. If you want to see my pain, suffering, successes, and failures as a pickleball journeyman, subscribe to my pickleball channel, where I will go on to defeat the big three in pickleball: Ben Johns, Tyson McGuffin, and my good friend Zane Navratil. I will leave a link to that channel down in the section below. And don't worry, this channel will still have regular tennis content coming out even more regular than in the past. And as always, happy hitting.